Hey guys, how's it going? So for this video, I want to discuss and analyze the grand overarching question surrounding the plot of the Breaking Bad movie of what will be the ultimate fate of Jesse Pinkman in the plot of this upcoming film. Okay, so before we take a look at the aforementioned question regarding what will be the ultimate fate of Jesse Pinkman in the plot of this upcoming movie, we first need to ask the question of why did Vince Gilligan apparently change his mind in regards to the conclusion of the story of Jesse Pinkman that was originally displayed to us at the end of the series finale of Breaking Bad. So with this question in mind, it appears that while Vince Gilligan previously felt that it was the right choice to leave Jesse Pinkman's storyline completely ambiguous and open-ended when concluding the story of Breaking Bad, it now seems, however, that following the announcement of the creation of this upcoming movie, that Vince Gilligan has ostensibly changed his mind, and we are now, as a result of this, going to get to see some sort of extension, or dare I say definitive conclusion, to the extremely open-ended storyline surrounding what happened to Jesse Pinkman following the conclusion of the series finale of Breaking Bad. Now, of course, while we obviously cannot know for certain the precise answer to this question regarding Vince Gilligan's creative thought process, seemingly until he does his press tour prior to and following the release of this upcoming film, nonetheless, due to the fact that it was heavily implied that Jesse Pinkman's open-ended storyline following the conclusion of Breaking Bad would effectively comprise him living happily ever after following his escape from Jack Walker's compound, one does wonder why, as a result of this, Vince Gilligan would feel the need to definitively display this former implication in the plot of this upcoming movie instead of just leaving the implied storyline of Jesse Pinkman open-ended as it was originally displayed to us during the conclusion of Breaking Bad. And so, with this question being taken into consideration, I wonder if it's possible that Vince Gilligan's own words regarding the potential holes in this implied conclusion to the open-ended fate of Jesse Pinkman that he stated in the immediate aftermath of the conclusion of Breaking Bad may have been growing on him over the course of these last few years following the conclusion of the series, which as a result caused him to want to reopen and reconsider the story in the plot of this upcoming movie. Interestingly, that being said, while it is true that Vince Gilligan in the immediate aftermath of the conclusion of Breaking Bad stated that he felt that he crafted a perfect and poetic ending to the conclusion of the story of Breaking Bad, where Walt is killed trying to save Jesse, he also stated, however, in addition to this, in the immediate aftermath of the series finale of Breaking Bad as well, in an interview with GQ, in regards to the open-ended story of Jesse Pinkman, quote, "My personal feeling is that he got away, but the most likely thing, as negative as this sounds, is that they're going to find this kid's fingerprints all over this lab, and they're going to find him within a day or a week or a month, and he's still going to be on the hook for the murder of 2 federal agents. But yeah, even though that's the most likely outcome, the way I see it is that he got away and got to Alaska, changed his name, and had a new life. You want that for the kid, he deserves it." So, as Vince Gilligan stated in his interview with GQ, in the immediate aftermath of the series finale of Breaking Bad, while the initial storyline of Breaking Bad appeared to imply that following Jesse's ordeal, he was now free to drive off into the proverbial sunset and live happily ever after in Alaska, at the same time as Vince Gilligan stated in this aforementioned interview, it also appears that following the plot that transpired over the course of the final episodes of Breaking Bad, Jesse would also, as a result of this, be a wanted man, following an investigation into what happened at Jack Walker's compound at the end of the series finale of Breaking Bad, which would uncover Jesse Pinkman's fingerprints all over Jack Walker's meth lab. Now, continuing along these same lines to go even a step further, in addition to these details from the plot of Breaking Bad, which imply to us that Jesse Pinkman would be a wanted man, as was discussed by Vince Gilligan in this aforementioned interview, we also heard Lydia Redart Quayle further reinforce this fact when she stated to Todd Alquist in the penultimate episode of Breaking Bad, entitled Granite State, that they, meaning the police, were looking for Jesse due to his direct connection to Walter White, following her discovery that Jack Walker was using Jesse against his will to cook meth for them.
That's Heisenberg level. He's not with you.
Well, next best thing, Pinkman.
They're looking for Pinkman.
We're not going to find him. He's with us and he's not going anywhere.
This was then apparently even further reinforced to us following the several-month time-lapse that occurred later in the same episode, as we can see if we look very closely at a newspaper clipping of what appears to be of an out-of-focus picture of Jesse Pinkman with the headline that states, "Local man sought in White case," thus adding further reinforcement to the fact that the police were and would still be looking for Jesse Pinkman, as Vince Gilligan stated in his aforementioned interview. Then, to go even a step further, in addition to Vince Gilligan stating that Jesse Pinkman's fingerprints are going to be found all over Jack Walker's meth lab, I think that we can all also assume that following the police arriving at Jack Walker's compound at the very end of the series finale of Breaking Bad to the discovery of Walter White dead on the floor of this meth lab, they would also surely notice the burnt rubber tire tracks, as well as the front gate of the compound that had been ripped open by a speeding car, thus implying to them that someone had just recently fled the scene following the murderous rampage that they will soon find in Jack Walker's clubhouse. That being said, while it should be noted that it appears that all of the information that the police will find at this crime scene would most likely not immediately link them to Jesse Pinkman, thus giving Jesse an apparent head start when attempting to evade capture by the authorities, you would still think, however, that in a relatively short interval of time, now with Kingpin Walter White being found dead on the floor of this meth lab after being hit by a stray bullet from his own M60 machine gun, who should be noted in the episode entitled Ozymandias, essentially admitted in a recorded conversation on the phone with Skyler to the murders of Hank Schrader and Steve Gomez, that the Albuquerque Police Department, the DEA, and a litany of other federal agencies would thus, following the discovery of a deceased Walter White, now actively be pursuing their one and only lead left in this infamous case that has consumed the entire city of Albuquerque, Jesse Pinkman, to the ends of the earth in an all-out manhunt in connection to the death of these two federal agents, who Hank's wife Marie could corroborate made a confessional tape for them and was also the very last person that they were seen alive with. Furthermore, it should also be noted that in addition to Jesse Pinkman's DNA being found all over Jack Walker's meth lab, his DNA would surely also be found directly on Todd Alquist's dead body, who should be noted was not killed by the barrage of gunfire from Walt's M60 machine gun, but was in fact strangulated to death by Jesse Pinkman, which would surely cause a ton of intrigue and suspicion to the authorities, following them discovering that one of the bodies in this massacre was not killed as a result of gunfire when attempting to discover the full story of what happened at Jack Walker's compound. Of course, however, even after all of that being said, all of the speculation in regards to the Albuquerque Police Department, the DEA, and a litany of other federal agencies pursuing Jesse following his escape from Jack Walker's compound, as was originally indicated by Vince Gilligan himself in his quote with GQ, would be the case. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, this plot detail assumes the fact that the creators of this movie will not choose to utilize the common literary trope of the lack of effectiveness by the authorities in the plot of this film as the commonly utilized over the course of Breaking Bad in order to drive forward the narrative of the show. One example of this, which immediately stands out, took place in season 1 of Breaking Bad in the episode entitled Crazy Handful of Nothing, where following Walter White using fulminated mercury to cause a massive explosion at Tuco's headquarters, which as a side note was proven by Mythbusters to be scientifically inaccurate, we would see Tuco following this explosion seem to literally, as well as figuratively in the eyes of the law, walk away from this incident unscathed, despite the fact that a massive explosion had just occurred at his place of business, which would seemingly be cause to arrest him, following us discovering in season 2 of Breaking Bad in the episode entitled Grilled that Tuco was a known drug dealer by the DEA. However, even in spite of all of this appearing to be the case in hindsight, as we would see in the plot of the next episode of season 1 of Breaking Bad entitled A No Rough Stuff Type Deal, Tuco would be out and about doing business with Walter White, thus implying that this massive explosion at his headquarters was never discovered by the police. But nonetheless, even in spite of all of these rhetorical questions regarding the utilization of the Albuquerque Police Department, the DEA, and a litany of other federal agencies in the plot of this upcoming Breaking Bad movie being taken into account, the open-ended question still remains of why did Vince Gilligan choose to reopen the story of Jesse Pinkman in the plot of this film? And so, as stated previously, while we will not be able to know the answer to this question for certain until Vince Gilligan does his press tour prior to and following the release of this upcoming film, nonetheless, in my opinion, it appears that while Vince Gilligan originally felt that he had crafted the perfect conclusion to the story of Breaking Bad, I have a strong feeling that all of the aforementioned plot details surrounding the open-ended nature of the show's main supporting protagonist, Jesse Pinkman, which starkly contrasts with the much more definitive conclusions that were displayed to us regarding most of the show's main characters, including Gus Fring, Mike Ehrmantraut, Hank Schrader, Todd Alquist, Lydia Redart Quayle, and Walter White, may have caused Vince Gilligan to realize that Jesse Pinkman should also have a definitive conclusion to his open-ended storyline as well via the plot of this Breaking Bad movie, in a similar vein to the open-ended story of Saul Goodman from the plot of Breaking Bad, now apparently getting a definitive conclusion as part of the plot of Better Call Saul. That being said, however, while we of course did not get to see, and it was not absolutely necessary to see, a definitive conclusion to the storyline of every single main and supporting character when cultivating the conclusion to the story of Breaking Bad, including characters such as Skylar White, Walter White Jr., Marie Schrader, Brandon Mayhew aka Badger, Skinny Pete, Huel Babineau, and Patrick Kuby, nonetheless, in my opinion, this literary choice seems to be a far cry from leaving the storyline of the main supporting protagonist in the plot of this series, Jesse Pinkman, completely open-ended, especially after taking all the aforementioned potential holes in this plot into consideration. And so, after taking all of these details regarding the creation of this upcoming Breaking Bad movie into consideration, due to the fact that it seems likely that Vince Gilligan would not be making this film in the first place, and would not choose to reopen the story of Jesse Pinkman as well as the story of Breaking Bad without a creative and artistic cause to do so, I wonder if the creation of this film as a result of this is signaling to us that Vince Gilligan wants to instill a definitive conclusion to the narrative of Jesse Pinkman via the plot of this upcoming movie, which could theoretically as a result of this lead to a drastic change in the originally implied storyline of Jesse Pinkman, that he drove off, changed his identity, moved to Alaska, and lived happily ever after, following the conclusion of the series finale of Breaking Bad, despite all of the apparent, potential aforementioned problems with this plot. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video and also want to see additional videos where I discuss and analyze the potential plots and other various aspects surrounding the backstory of this upcoming Breaking Bad movie, then definitely make sure you check out some of the other videos about the Breaking Bad movie on my channel, and definitely make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new videos prior to the release of this film. As always, my name is Anton Jackson. Thanks again for watching.